All right, and welcome back, everybody. This is David Cross again, and I think we'll go ahead and finish up the GET APIs in this particular video. Shouldn't take too long, so it should be pretty straightforward. So to start with, just another couple address functions here with the GET broadcast address if you need to do some translation. This still uses the IP address functionality of PowerShell, so something built in as a standard function. Now the GET IPC admin allows you to export the IPControl administrator, and then from here you can see things like their email, first name, last name, and then their policies, which also dictate what level of access they have to various data elements within IPControl. A couple helper functions I have here for the child block JSON, and effectively what this does is it extracts all of the import child block or import device JSON, which I'll have as well. And then from here, you can go in and pick out the fields that you need. So this is the maximum JSON. And the minimum JSON are the minimum fields required in order to effectively create a new block. So if you're looking for just the minimums and none of the other detail, you can selectively pick and choose the level. The import device by hostname or get IPC device by hostname just allows you to pick out a specific host, and it goes out and gets a get IP device, effectively pulling back the details of the IP. Again, very straightforward, and the counter, I guess, of a get device by IP address or get device by MAC address. Here again is the device JSON. So if you're looking to create an import or need to know what that JSON structure looks like, these are the minimum and maximum fields. And then the clean actually tells it to remove the string details so that you just have empty values while we're there. Once again, in the domains, you can go out and get IPC domain by name. So here I can specify either domain type as an optional value and the domain of the domain, and pulls back the details, the SOA, and how those are stored currently in IPControl. The get IPC domain resource record, this again is based on domain records, not device records. So they need to be specific, and it's looking specifically for a domain record without that flag. So if you recall that conversation, there's a device flag in the domain records. This is one without that flag when we're looking at this record type. Now, get IPC device is just another kind of a function that I built to do a couple more things with it, and I had mentioned this yesterday. I was using this in the pipeline, so I'm passing parameters back into the pipeline that can be reused to do quick modifies, updates, changing the parameters. And I also put in a DNS record check that if it were something on your local LAN, you could tell it to do the DNS lookup. So this is a kind of a custom function wrapped around the get device. Now, get the IPC block by IP device or IP adder is going to pull back effectively the child block information, which includes some of the utilization values, and then all of the block information, location, container, and some other audit information about it when it was created. Some of these other get IPC block by name, same thing, pulls back that same instance, but just doing a check by its name. And then the subnet utilization allows you to do a pull of this details to get a real-time snapshot and available addresses of what's currently in use. So this performs effectively the global utilization rollup on the subnet to check what those values are. And then I've added some additional counters here to calculate what the available hosts values are. So instead of you having to go and calculate these, I went ahead and calculated for you. And as you add additional statics, reserves, things like that, you'll see this number decrement in real time. The get IPC token is just a way if you need to test the product or to get the token, you can just tell it to run in and log, and this will give you the validation that you're connecting. Now, the IPv6 by decimal, just like with IPv4, you can have it generate a decimal value that you can then use for sorting. Now, this is obviously quite a bit longer and bigger than the IPv4 address when you convert that, but this is the equivalent, and this is how we store information effectively in the database as well for this type of value. Now, the get network by address effectively just gives you some block information, again using the built-in PowerShell IP address function. The get network by range gives you all of the IP addresses based on the IP address subnet mask. Now this one is using the IP address, which is a little bit slower if you're doing this in large loops. So if you need to do something like this, I would use that get IP list from network function, or export IP list from network, and that'll give you higher performance output of a lot larger IP address space. Now the summary does give you some more breakdown, I guess, of the network, so that you can do things like go out and pull a summary of a subnet, get its network decimal, beginning and end, and then you can for loop it to actually pull up the IP addresses. So that's the way that you can increment it, so every number is an IP, and you can then loop through the network and broadcast, plus and minus one respectively. So some interesting things here you can use. I was going to kind of put this into a subnet calculator. That'll do that as well. Now, the get subnet is actually a very useful product when you're dealing with summarization and if you're trying to determine a site. So as an example, I have a 192.68/18 block, and then I want to determine what are all of the equivalent subnets of /24 within that space. And this will go out and calculate that list, and then you can take this and pipe it through a for each, and then break out this subnet and get your IPs for each subnet, and do some other functions there. And kind of lastly in the get functions is the win DNS lookup. Just a real quick function I wrote just to do the resolve DNS name, passing the information in with the resolve and other parameters. All right, so that was kind of hopefully a quick video on the get functionality. Hopefully you saw some things there that you can use. And I think in the last parts, in the last video, I'll finish up with the imports. Actually, two more videos, the imports and the deletes. And that should finish up the video series for this PowerShell module. Thanks for joining me again, and we'll see you in the next video.